Okay, we're up to Berachos. We're Berachos Lamed Dalid, and Lamed, we're beginning from Lamed Gimel. Lamed Bey is 8 lines from the bottom. From Chanina, a very, very important yisoid in Yiddishkeit. Hakol b'dei Shemayim chutz mi'Yireh Shemayim. Everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the exception of Yireh Shemayim. Rashi says, Kol ha'ba'al adam, anything that happens to a person, b'yad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, kigoin aruch, if it'll be tall, kutzer, short, ani, poor, usher, wealthy, chacham, a wise man, shota, love on whether he's white, shachar, or he's dark, hakol b'dei shemayim hu. That's all from Hashem. Aval tzaddik v'rasha, whether he's a tzaddik or a rasha, eina ba al yidei shemayim. That does not come as a result of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Assume moise b'yadi shaladam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives this over to each and every individual. And us the funish neitrachim placed in front of him 2 ways to go. Who yivchala Yireh Shemayim, and he chooses Yireh Shemayim. Shneimar b'ati Yisrael ma Hashem al-kecha shol meimach. What is Hashem asking from you? Kim liyiro. So, at the Yireh Shemayim, Moses Drasi, he fed the Gemara. Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us, right? What is the Kadosh Baruch Hu asking? Mashma, he's not asking so much. Fred the Gemara, what do you mean he's not asking too much? Yireh Shemayim is a little thing. It's a very, very hard. It's a very hard thing. Ivar Chanina. Musham Levi, Enlei Kadosh Baruch Hu, based Ganasa Bela Oitza Shel Yireh Shemayim. Kadosh Baruch Hu has in his treasury has an Oitza of what? Of Yireh Shemayim. So you see that what? That is something very, very uniquely special. So what's Moshe saying that what? What is Hashem asking from you? Right? Shneimar, Yireh Hashem, He Oitzroi. And for the Gemara in the Gabi Moshe Milsus Drasi, Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't a big thing. Then Rabbi Chanina, Mashal Adam, Shemavakshim Mimenu Kli Gadol. If you ask him from a person, you ask him a very, very big Kli. V'yeshlei, and he has it. Then Daimulav Kli Cotton. It doesn't appear like anything. So Moshe Rabbeinu, you ask him Yireh Shemayim, he has it. Doesn't appear like anything. Right? Cotton. If you ask him for a small thing, Ve'enloi, Daimulav Kli Gadol. So we call Yisrael. We have a small Kli. Yes, because we're a big thing. Yireh Shemayim, it appears like a big thing. So this Yisod of Kol B'dei Shemayim Chutz Yireh Shemayim. It's one of the tenets of the Rambam that he brings in Hilchos Tshuva. He brings it at great length and discusses basically the very, very famous question of, right, Bechira versus Yediyah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We won't get into that. We will discuss Perek Chamishi from Hilchos Tshuva. Rishus L'chol Adam, the Sunim, it's given over to him. Im Ratzal Hatas Atzma L'derech Toiv Aliyas Tzadik HaRasha B'yadai. Then Ratzal Hatas Atzma L'derech Ro Aliyas Rasha HaRashus B'yadai. You have the choice. Who should kasav b'Torah heina adam hayag hacham mimenu the das tayva ra. But the Shmuel tells the malachim after the ched of deit sadas that adam knows tayva ra. The Michtem Eliyahu speaks out that adam Rishon before the ched was emes v'sheker. Emes, there was only the ratzon of Hashem and not the ratzon of Hashem. But the Eitz Sadas tayva ra did was it instilled in him tayva ra. So therefore, now that Adam L'Toiv he has Bechira. Klaimar, Hein Min Zeh Shel Adam, Hayayachid Ba'olam, he's the unique individual in this world. Hein Min Sheni Daimeloi, no, there's no other species similar to him. V'zeh Inyan regarding this matter, Shehu Me'atzmai B'daitoi Machshavasai, Yedeya HaToi V'Harav V'Oisa Kol Mashu Chafetz, that he knows what to do and he has a choice to do it or not. Ve'imi Shiv Yaakov B'Yadai Milasas HaToiv, nothing can stop him. Or the opposite, chas v'shalom. The kimin shekain who pen yishlach yodai is ganif from eitz hadas and live forever, eitz hachayim live forever. He has to be sent out of Gan Eden. Continues the Rambam. Al yavar b'machshavascha, a person should enter your mind. Davazeh shomrim tivshei umas oilam. Roiv golmei b'nei adam. People are like a goylam. Shekadosh Baruch Hu goyzer ala adam mitchilah b'riyasai. That Kadosh Baruch Hu decrees upon a person at the beginning of his creation. Liyai tzaddikai rasha. There are people who believe that a person is a born tzaddik, is a born rasha. There's nothing you can do. Ain't a davakain. Every person can be a tzaddik like Moshe. Potentially, he can fulfill his potential like Moshe. A rasha ki Yeravam, or chas v'shalom, like Yeravam ben Nevat, who set up 2 Egolim in the north of Klal Yisrael, took the 10 Shvatim. A chacham, a sikel, a rachman, a yachsari, a kile, a cheap person, a shua, no one can force him, and there's no gzeir on him. No one's drawing him to either way. It's true. You make choices, right? You spend your day with good people, good places, good things. You're going to do good things. You spend your day with evil people, evil places. You know what's going to happen. From Pi'elyon, from Kadosh Baruch Hu, does not come out a rois v'atoiv. Kloimar, ein abari goyz al adam liyas toiv liyas ra. There's no gzer from Hashem like that. The kivin shekain who nimtzes achayta who hipster es atzmai. If that's the case, the person's chayta, he himself and only himself causes his loss. Lefikach roy loy livchais. He should cry. Will the kainin lament al chatav what he does because it's your fault. You can't blame anybody else. In the words of Harry Truman, the buck stops here. The buck stops here. You're responsible for yourself and no one else. Kadosh Baruch Hu goes ahead and he lets you make decisions. You have b'chira chavshis, and therefore, if you're going to sin, the only one to blame is yourself. But don't blame anybody else. Masha asal nafshay v'gam l'ra. He goes on a little more because I think it's the biggest side. It's the biggest side that we should know. We should always read that. The buck stops here. No one you can blame. I'm off to Derek in 12th grade because my Rabbi hit me in 3rd grade. No, we can find blame. My parents did this, my parents did that, my parents did this one, that one, this one. We're living in a generation of blame. Everyone's blaming everybody else. Again, the buck stops here. The bottom line is, I'm not saying that it's not difficult for people and people, there are things that people do, but the bottom line is that nothing but no one, you can make the decisions, everything depends upon you. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Zera. Says moedim mishaskin. If you say moedim, we said that you can be quiet because it appears like he's diving to two gods. Amar Rabbi Zera, kol omer shema. Anyone says a double shema, call him moedim, dummy, and therefore you should mishaskin. So we make him quiet. Meisivei hakoyre shema. Someone reads shema v'koyflo and he doubles down. Harizem meguna. Right, it's something that is meguna. It's not something that's nice to do. Meguna hu dahave shasuki lemishaskin, but you're not going to go ahead and tell him to be quiet. Kasha. Hadam and milsa. It depends if he says word by word of a tanila and repeats it. But hadam pasuka v'tanila. And where he says what? Pasuka and repeats it. If he says what kol tev each word and repeats the word, right? Then meguna habe. It's meguna. But if he says complete pasukim, right? Then what it is, then it is something that is Mishas going to say, then you're going to keep tell to be quiet. So Rashi learns Taisus argues. The Amalei, Vidilma, Amalei, Rapapal Abaya, Vidilma may call like Kivin Daita, was say Kivin Daita. Maybe initially when he said the pasuk, he wasn't Mechav in his opinion. He gets why Mishas going to say. The Amalei, so Papa told, so Abaya told Papa, Chavrusa, Klape Shmaya Mi'ika, Chavrusa. A person's noy, like he speaks with his friend. That's the way you should speak to Hashem. That what you can forget what you say. You like even daitem ekara. If he's not mechav his das initially, you give him a patch. With a anvil of a blacksmith, not the anvil. I mean the hammer of a blacksmith. At the machman the title is mechav his das. No snowflakes in those days. Right? You're not going to mechav it. They'll hit you till you mechav it. Says the Mishnah. If someone goes in front of the teva, Vitani makes a mistake. He goes to daven for the Amid, he makes a mistake. Right? Yavalov tachta, become another person in his place. Floye sarvin, right? And in that time, he shouldn't go ahead, what? When they need a replacement, he shouldn't be, take his time to go up. He shouldn't, right? It's a bizayin for the tzibur. So you tell a person that makes a mistake, get another person in his place. The new person goes up, where does he go begin from? It says the Mishnah Maskilim HaBracha Sheta Zeh. He starts from the bracha that this person made a mistake. Someone goes in front of the teva and the kahanim are duchening. Liyana amin achab the kahanim. And the kahanim say he shouldn't answer amin. He shouldn't answer amin. But they are tarif because since he has to read for the tzibur, he may go ahead and lose his spot. The main sham kohen elahu. Let's say the shliach tzibur is the only kohen in town. You says kapov, you shouldn't duchen, right? However, if he's betuach that he's won't make a mistake, shunoi says kapov, he's able to go ahead and duchen. And you get back to his tefillah, then he has rishus. So the Mishnah Brura in Siman Sif Kaf Ches, Sif Katan Ayin Aleph, he says that he says that the Shliach Tzibah should not answer Amen after the Kohanim, but it's speaking about the Amen that's between the brachas. You know, Yorashem, Yisashem, everything that Amen, that's what it's speaking about. But the bracha you can't be mafsik. In other words, the bracha of Asher Kiddushanim that you can only answer Amen on. The Shiloh was that for sure. The Shiloh is when the Gemara says the Amen, because maybe Titruf Daita, you won't know where to go back from. That's the Shiloh on the Amen that's in between when the Kohanim are benching us. And therefore he says if he has a sitter that he's saying from the sitter, and therefore you're not worried that he's going to go ahead and be mispalbal, get mixed up, then he would be permitted to go back and duchen. And then he would permitted to go ahead and duchen. So Tana Rabbana. However, if the Gemara says that we're still in the Mishnah. Says the Gemara. Tana Rabbana. However, if the person's going to daven, before he goes down, he should go, well, no, refuse a little bit. And if he doesn't refuse, he goes up right away. It's similar to a food that has no salt. There's no flavor to it. And if he too much, if he refuses to go too much, then it's limited to a tapshel that is being burnt by melech. It's oversalted. Ketsuroi. So what do? When they ask you the first time, you should refuse to go. And Shniya Mahavev Yasmin Asatzma Legeshes, and begin to move the Shlishas, then go ahead and get up and go. Tanaban, Shleisha Reuben Kashan. There are three roivin, too much of it is no good. Umiyutim Yafin, and a little bit of it is good. The Elohain Sa'ar, sourdough, the leavening agent, right? If you have the right amount is good, too much is no good. Melach, salt, again, as we just said, the sarbanis, and to be Masari by tefillah, right? And to be Masari by tefillah, to refuse by tefillah, too much is not too much is no good, too little is no good. The Marsha brings the Yerushalmi that too much is bad and too little is bad, and Beinoni is good. And therefore you should be memayit in your refusal, right? Therefore you're memayit in your sarbanis, like you go up right away. Therefore, it's bad, and if you refuse to go, then it's also bad. So the derech beinoni is to first refuse, and then begin to move, and then finally go up. Amrafuna, tol b'shleisha v'shayna. So the person goes ahead and he makes a mistake in the first three brachos shmoneh esrei, right? Chayz l'roish goes back to the beginning of shmoneh esrei. If he makes a mistake in the middle brachos, the bakashos, then it goes back to chayne, and it goes back to what? Chayz at the chayne. It goes back to the first bakasha was at the chayne. Bachreina, if in Chayzla Avoida, and if he makes a mistake in the Achreinas in the latter three brachos, he goes back to Maidim. In the middle ones, there's no Seder, meaning if you make a mistake, you don't have to go back to Atachreina, and you go back to the bracha that you made the mistake in. Okay. Tosfos disagrees, and he says, Vadai, there is a Seder to the tefillah, and you're not able to go ahead and make a bracha in the middle of the tefillah. Therefore, what does Rav Asi mean when he says that? How does he learn in the Seder? You don't have to be tzarich lachzor l'tchil sem soyis. You don't have to go back to the beginning. You go back to the bracha that you skipped. So it's mashma, according to Rashi, even if you skip one, you go back and say it, and therefore you would continue to feel. So let's say you made a mistake in number 6, and now you're up to 8. So according to him, you go back to 6, and then you go back to 8. According to Tosfos, you go back to 6, and then go 6, 7, 8. Must have Rav Sheshes on Rav Huna, who said that they make 3 brachas, you go back to the beginning. Must have Rav Sheshes, it says mehechenu chayzer. Where the shliach tzibah go back to? Well, after you took down the other one, metchilas habracha shetazeh. He goes back to the bracha that he made a mistake, like Rav Asi. So it says more tiyuf to Rav Huna. It's a tiyuf to Rav Huna. That said, you go back to the beginning of atachayne. It's not. You go back to the bracha that you made the mistake in. Amalach Rav Huna amsiyasa kula chada bechasanenu. The middle brachas, they're all one considered one, and therefore you go back to what to the beginning of the bracha, which is at the chayne. That's what Rav Huna said. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Lo'ilam al yishal adam tzrachav. Person should not ask for his needs. Loy b'shleisha arishonas, which are shvach v'idot HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Loy b'shleishis achroinos, which are thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lashon moedim. El b'mtziusay. Yes, bakashis in the middle 12 brachas. With now the 13 brachas, the middle there, we go ahead, and that's where we ask for Rabbi Akashis. And the reason, Dam Rav Chanina, Rishonos, Daimel le'eved shemas misad shvach lefnei Rabbi. The first three is like the Eved was organizing his shvach, praising his master. Amsiusa, the middle ones, Daimel le'eved shepikesh pras me Rabbi, you're asking mat for a prize from your friend, from your master. Achroinos, Daimel le'eved shekibel pras me Rabbi, and the last is ready. You praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu like you received what you wanted. Finifter, and you take leave. V'haylach lei. Tosfos says, Dafka Shelas Tzrichim of the Yachid, you don't ask in the first one. But for the Tzibur, you could. And that's why we say, Zachrenu, we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remember us. Begin with Bachroinus, you say, Yalav Yavai. So that's the Lashon for the Tzibur you could ask. That's what the Tosfos says. And the Rosh adds, Alanisim, Shoime B'Chanukah, and Tosfos says, Teide Shemuter Shariki Gimachroinus Tzarchit Tzibur. Since the last three at Tzarchit Tzibur, one is able to make Bakasha. So this in Bakasha is limited to the Yachid. Rabbanan. Ma'aser b'Talmud Echad, Shior l'fnei HaTeva, he went down in front of the Teva, b'fnei Rabbi Eliezer, v'hoyamarach yosem midayin, he's davening too long. Amulay Talmid of Rabbeinu, Kama Orchenu said, look how long this person's davening. Some of him, no one davened longer than Moshe. D'chsiv, Esabram Yoim, Esabram Laila, for 40 days, 40 nights. Shuv Ma'aser b'Talmud Echad, Shior l'fnei HaTeva, b'fnei Rabbi Eliezer, v'mekatzi yosem midayin, he went too short. Amulay Talmid of Kama Kotzenu said, Al hem klum mekatzi yosem Moshe Rabbeinu, d'chsiv, Kelna Refarn Allah. Right? So that's, you see, that it could be long and could be short. And then Marsha explains that when was Moshe Marach in Tefillah, that was after the Cheder Egel. So after the Cheder Egel, it's terrible, one of the worst sins in the history of Klal Yisrael. Therefore, he had to be Marach in Tefillah, and not only Marach but Tefillah, Marach in the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mashen came about the Cheder of Miriam, which was for an individual. He was Makatzer, and he always said Lashon Kel. He didn't say the Lashon of Hashem's name. Rav Yaakov, Rav Chisda, Kol Vakesh Racham al Chaveroi. Anyone who asks Rachmanis on his friend, ain't tzarich lahaske shmoi. He doesn't have to mention the name of the person in that section. Emar Kelna Rafan Allah, Loik Madche Shmei Miriam, and he never mentioned what the name of Miriam. So the Yavitz, he asked the kasha on this Gemara from a Zoyar and Pashas Vayishlach, on the pasuk Hatzileni Noah, where Yaakov Avinu davens to be saved from Esav, that the Mispalo has to go ahead and mention names. It's so it's a Stiratah Gemara, right? The Pri Chodosh in Siman Kuf Yutes brings down this Zayhar, and the Magen Avram in Siman Kuf Yutes of Kotan Aleph explains the name of Maharil. That we said you don't mention the name of the Chayla is dafka in front of the Chayla, but not in front of the Chayla, then you do mention the name. That would be the teretz to the Stira. Tanrabanan Ele Bracha Shad Sheicha Behen. These are the brachas that a person bows down by. But otherwise, in the bracha Magen Avraham, Tchila b'Seif in the beginning of Magen Avram and the end of Magen Avram. Okay, in the beginning of Magen Avram and the end of Magen Avram. Ba'ida in the bracha of Maiden, Tchila b'Seif, the beginning and the end. Then Bal Suach b'Seif kol bracha, u'b'Tchila kol bracha. And if he wants to bow down by the beginning of every single bracha, at the end of every single bracha, we go ahead and tell him not to go ahead and do it. The person should go ahead and do it. Amr B'Shim ben Pazi, Amr B'Shul ben Levi, Mishum ben Kapara Hedyet, that Kamash Hedyet, that we just said, the way you should bow is like we just said, by the Avos, the beginning and the end, and Maidim by the beginning and the end. Kohen Gadol, he has to bend, B'Seif Kol Bracha Bracha. At the end, each one should call the person that's greater than another person, has to be Machni himself even more. And Melech, which is the highest position in Klal Yisrael, Tchila Kol Bracha Bracha, B'Seif Kol Bracha Bracha. So depending on the person's status, that's how he have to bend. Amar Yitzchak bar Nachmani, the Nimi Farshali Minei Rav Shua ben Levi, that said it's the Seder of the Mishtach Aviyos, Hedyet K'mash Amarnu, right? The beginning of beginning and end of Avos, and the beginning and end of Moedim. Kohen Gadol Tchila Kol Bracha Bracha, right? Not like Rabbi Shua, not like Rabbi Shimon ben Pasi said. That's by the Melech. The Kohen Gadol says only by the end. He says the Kohen Gadol is the beginning of every bracha. Once he goes down, he doesn't come up until he finishes davening. Shnemar, when he finished davening, he got up, and bowing down on his knees. So you see, the whole time that he was davening, he was on his knees. The Melech Kal Yisrael. Tanraban Kida. Kida is some type of where you go down and you said when you head and on your fingers. So Levi was once showing it, I think, in front of Rabbi, and he got hinketik as a result. So Kida is a special way of bowing down. Al-Payim, that's on your face. That's on your face. Shnemar, Vatikoi Basheva Apayim Arza. Basheva bowed down to David in the beginning of Malachim when she came to plead that Shlomo should be the king, and not Adoniyahu. It says over there that she bowed. Tikoi, the lashon of Keda, Apayim on her face. Kriya, the lashon of Kriya. Al Birkayim is on your knees. Shnemar, as we just said, the pasuk of Shlomo Melech. Machroya Al Birkav. Ishtachavad, lachon ishtachaviyah. Said Pisha Yidayim Reglayim, it's stretching out your hands and your feet. Shnemar. Havay Nava Yaniv Beimecha Vachicha L'Shtachavas Chorza. We're being a pasuk by what? By Yosef. That Yosef says that Yaakov Avinu said that what? Ani Beimecha Vachicha L'Shtachavas Chorza. So we're being Uriah that Ishtachava is on the arza, Pisha Yadayim is you're on the ground completely. We're bringing Uriah from Yaakov Avinu. Yosef had a dream, he told it over, and Yaakov gives Musa to Yosef. Why do I have to hear this dream that you say, Havay Nava Ani Ve'imcha, I and your mother, Vachech and your brother, Shtachvaz L'cha arza, they bury down to you the ground. So the Shmaka Kasha from the Maritz Chios in Shuas, Perek Tezayin, on the days. Why did we wait to bring a raya from Yosef? There's earlier in the Parshas Berachos, there are places where it says Ishtachvaz L'arza. So, for example, by Loit, it says by Loit by Ishtachvu Apayim Arza, that he bowed down Apayim Arza. By Yaakov by Esa by Ishtachvu Arza, he bowed down to the ground. So that's his kasha. And the teretz, I think his teretz is gavaldik. You want to bring a raya that every time you bow down, it's the arza. Okay, so that they did it is not a raya that it's done that way. That they did it that's what they did. In other words, Loit decided to do it, and Yaakov Avinu decided to do it, but it's not a raya that's hishtachaviyah. Where's the raya from? It's from Yosef. Vayachlam says, Vayachlam Yosef. I'm a Berachos Lamed Zayin Pasuk Hey. Vayachlam Yosef Chaloim. Vayagad le'echav. Vayisifu Eitznai Yosai. They began to hate him more. What was his dream? Vayomer Aleihem. Shimu no hachaloim hazeh asher chalomti. V'hinei anachnu ma'almim alumim. B'say chasadah. They were piling up in the fields. V'hinei kom alu masi. My pile got up. V'gam nitzava. V'hinei tusuvenu alu moisechem. They went ahead. Your piles surrounded my piles. V'teshtachavenu lalu masi. And they bowed down what to my piles. That was the dream. There was no mention of Arza there. There was no mention. When does it happen? What does Yaakov say? Vayomela, machalei mazeh. This is Yaakov talking. Asher chalomta. Hava navi ani ve'imcha v'achecha v'shachvuz l'cha Arza. So Yaakov Avinu is the one who said that. In Yosef, he didn't say anything about Arza. He didn't mention that whatsoever. Right? It was Yaakov who mentioned it. Therefore, the raya is from Yaakov Avinu. The other ones, it could be, that's what they did. But not that every Ishtachavi is the Arza. But when Yaakov went ahead, when Yosef did mention it, and Yaakov upteiches it, that Ishtachavi is the Arza, therefore the raya is from there. Very, very geshmaka. Maritz Chios from Masechta Shavuos. Continues the Gemara. Amar Chia, Brei Rav Huna. Chazina lahula Abaye v'Rava. Right? We saw Abaye v'Rava when they didn't feel as a payim. They went to the sides. They didn't go to the sides. And the matzah still late. They went when Taisva says that what they just went to the sides and daven. Right? They went to the sides. Tani chada hakara b'haida. You do kriya by haida by what? By moedim. Harizem meshubach. It's a good thing. The tani idach harizem meguna. And one said it's not such a good thing. Like hasha habetchila. If you do with the megillah, then it's a good thing. Habesayif. If you do in the end, it's not a good thing. Rabba kara b'haida tchila b'seif. Rabba by haida we bowed by tchila b'seif. Emile Rabbanon, Amaika Avid Marhochi, why do you do this? Amalahu, Chazin Rav Nachman the Kara. I said Rav Nachman did it. Chazin Rav Sheshus the Kavid Hachin. I said Rav Sheshus did it. So since Rabbi and Rav Nachman, the Rebbe of Rava, and Rav Sheshus, the Rebbe of Rav Nachman, or contemporaries, but Tanya Kara Do Harizem Maguna. We said it's a negative thing. So how could they do it? It says the Gemara Ahi Bohidod Sheba Halal. When's it a negative? When you bow down by the Hadah of Halal. Right? Ivatanya Kara Bohida or Bohida Shel Halal Harizem Maguna. So when it says you bow down, it mentions halal, so it must be the first one is moedim. It says what? It says vatana kor b'haidah must be moedim. Then vadah shel halal. So how can you tell me it's halal? It says the Gemara Miki Tanya he b'haidah the birchas hamazon. When is that speaking? That's speaking about the haidah of birchas hamazon. So by the haidah of halal you don't go down. By the haidah of birchas hamazon you don't go down. The haidah of what of moedim, then the kriya would be okay. So there's the shaila in Rishonim by Nishmas, when you say l'chol levatcha anachnu moedim, over there, do you bow down or not? After all, you're saying moedim. Is that like the shtachaviyah of Shmoneh Esrei where you could? Or is it like moedim of halal, like moedim of Shmoneh Esrei where you could, or moedim of halal or bechas hamazon where you can't? So there seems to be a machlokas Rishonim, and there's a sefer called Chedushay Anshe Shem. He makes a very, very beautiful chiluk. He says there's two types of moedim. There's moedim of being mekabel ol malchus shemayim, and there's moedim of shvach, the halal. When is it appropriate to go ahead and do a shtachaviyah by moedim? That's the moedim one of being mekabel ol malchus shemayim, which is in Shmoneh Esrei. But the moedim of halal, which is shvach lekel vayda, the moedim of birchas hamazon, which is shvach lekel, and the moedim of nishmash, which is shvach lekodesh baruch hu, then we don't go ahead and bow down. Then we don't go ahead and bow down. Says the Mishnah, Hamispalol v'ta'ah, a person's davens and makes a mistake. Simin roloi, it's a simin that what? That a Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like his tefillah. V'mshliach tzibahu, if it's a shlimat tziba, simin ro l'sholchav, it's a simin ro for the people who sent him up. Because he's the shliach of the congregation, and therefore he is representing them, and therefore if he makes a mistake, it's like they made a mistake. He was able to daven for cholim. This one's going to live and this one's going to die. Where do you know this from? If the tefillah is sugar in my mouth, then I know that what it's accepted. And it's not in my mouth clear, it doesn't come out so clearly. Then I know it's not accepted. I hate. Where is it going on? This we said it's a sin. It's a negative. Where's it going on? That it said it's a negative. Hey, when it says that it is a sin in raw, which bracha are we speaking about? So I'm Rabbi Mishum Chad Bei Rebbe the Avos. It's in the first bracha Shmoneh Esrei. When you make a bracha in the beginning of davening, it's a remez that's a Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like his tefillah. Those learn it directly on a Mishnah, learn on a Brisa. You have to have kavanah in all the Shmoneh Esrei. If you can't have kavanah in all the Shmoneh Esrei, you should have kavanah at least in one bracha. And Amar Chia Amar Safa Mishum Chad Bei Rebbe. So we're applying that Rav Chia that we said before. That's going on in Mishnah, right? It's going on. It's Mishum Chad Bei Rebbe. It's going on the Abbais. In Shulchan Aruch, Siman Kuf Aleph Sif Aleph, Hamispalot Soshi Chav Mechol Brachos. You have to have kavanah in all the brachos. V'meina yochel lechavim bekulam. At least you should have kavanah in the avos. And like even ba'avos, afal pisha kivim b'chol shar you should go back and daven. Says the Ramah. V'idna ein chosim b'shvil chisor kavanah. We don't go back, but like kavanah. Shapech hazar korvu shleich chavinim kein lamo yachzer. You know, he's quoting a Torah. That's no guarantee you'll have kavanah the second time as well. Mr. Bura writes. Kavana shnemer kan he pirish amilas. Kavana means to understand what you're saying. Understand what you're saying. It's not like you have brace kavanas and machshavas. It means to know what you're saying. Okay, manachem oid lahamoinim shelimu pirish amilas. So called tefillah. You should learn what says the Mishnah Berurah. You should learn the meanings of the translation of the tefillas. Al kapanim shel birchas avos. At least the birchas avos. Umoidim b'vada yeshliya v'lov leida b'yuru. You know what you're saying. What's the reason we're machmir in the avos? Kasam Mishnah Berurah shusida shivach shel makom. You be misada shvach v'kodesh baruch hu. Al kain eina bedin sheyei az poina levavoy ledvar macherim. Once you're being Masada, the Shvach of Kadosh Baruch Hu, right, you should not turn your mind to anything else. The Gam Moedim Choshev Ka'avos L'Chatchila, the Gam Moedim, that the bracha of Moedim is considered like Avos L'Chatchila, and therefore you should know the meaning of the words, and you should not, and to be thankful to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kasav Chayi Adam, Kivin the Mitzara Din Sarach Lachsa L'Spal Al Koponim, in this Kodim Shama B'Seif Bracha Yachsa Leimer Elokei Avraham. In other words, let's say you realize you didn't have it, try to go back to the beginning. Minoni Mili, how do you know that what if it's Shagah B'Fiv, it's a siman that it's being what Makobel? That's what Rabbi Chanin Badaisa said. It's in the string, you know, it's being Makobel. Amishum Levi Damakra, the pasuk says, by Reya, it says, Bareya Nifs Vasayim. Bareya means the Lashon what of the healthy Nifs Vasayim. That means that what? When you're moving of your lips is bori, is healthy, meaning it's clear, you can be sure that Shalom Shalom Rachok L'Karav Hashem Urvasav. That Kodesh Baruch Hu is Shalom Shalom from Rachok L'Karav Hashem, and I'll cure him. Amrav Chia Barabba, Amrav Yochanan, Kol Neviim Kulon Nisnavu Elo Lamesi Pita L'Talmid Chacham. The Neviim, that they were Nisnava of when they said all the good things that are going to happen is regarding marrying off your daughter to a Talmid Chacham. Loisa Pragmati L'Talmid Chacham was someone who does business for a Talmid Chacham that he should be able to learn. Or Mahana Talmid Chacham in Chasav was someone who goes ahead and gives Talmid Chacham enough from the Chasim. In all those cases, the Navi is Misnava, but the good is going to happen to them. Talmid Chacham Matzma, the Talmid Chacham themselves, who are learning and being Marbitz Torah, the Scharuchni that they have, Ayin Le Rasel, Kimzu Lasecha, Yasel Lemachkalei. They only a Kodesh Baruch Hu what? He only a Kodesh Baruch Hu knows. The Navi is not Misnava for what? For the Schar for Lembi Torah. All the Nevi'im are not misnavu. They could not go ahead and be masik Eloi Mos HaMashiach, right? Aval Olam Haba, Ayin LeRasa Elokim Zulasecha. The Nevi'im in the snava what's going to happen Mos HaMashiach. They can tell you what's going to happen. But Olam Haba, that no one knows. Upligi the Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan said that in the Nevi'im the snava Mos HaMashiach. They're telling you what's going to be, meaning it's going to be something out of this world, argues on Shmuel. But Shmuel's of the opinion, there's no difference between our world and the next world, and Moshe Mashiach, only Shibud Malchuyas. Famous, Shenema ki lo yachtal Levium b'kerv achecha, the Evium will not stop from your land. The Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, Perik Tes Amid Beis, he passes like Shmuel. And you look it up there, he says that speaks at the difference that there's not going to be no difference. There'll be life, there'll be death, there'll be poverty, but everyone's going to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so Avam Reb Chia Bar Av and Am Reb Yochanan Kol Nevi'im Kulin Nisnavu El Balei Tshuva. And the Nevi'im will tell you the good that's going to happen to Balei Tshuva, but Tzadikim Gemurim only HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows. So Pliga Rabavo and Rabbi Yochanan is Rabavo, Dam Rabavo, Makam Shebali Tshuva Oimdim, Tzadikim Gemur Meina Oimdim. So you see that it's greatest schar for Bali Tshuva, many different pshatim. Shenemar Shalom Shalom LaRachoik, the people who are Rachoik, who are Rishoyim, right, and come close, Ulakaroiv, the people who are close, the Rachoik, Beresha, first the people who are Rachoik, first Bali Tshuva, then afterwards, the Hadal Lakaroiv, the people who were stark all their lives. Rabbi Yochanan disagree. My rachik, when it says rachik, shei rachik midvar aveira may karetz. Talmid Chachamim who are rachik not from Hakadosh Baruch Hu, they are rachik from dvar aveira, and therefore the tzaddikim come first. Well, my karev shei karev l'dvar aveira, they were close to dvar aveira. Nisachu mimenu hashna. Now they go ahead and they stay away from it. So the Rambam in Perek Zayin Halacha Dalid, it says ayidam about shuva shehu merachik mimaylas tzaddikim. So you might think about Tshuva, might think he's Rachel Tzadikim because of the bad negative things he did. This is Tshuva Perek Zayin, Allah Chadalit. Allah Oyev Nechmad Hu Lufnei Aboyra, HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves him. Kil Leichotam Eyolam, if he never did a chait. Layoid Elish Schari Harbe, he gets a lot of schar. Shari Toy Tam Chedi, he tasted the taste of Avera. L'Parish Mimenu V'Kavash Yitzroy. Anu Chachamim Makom Shavali Tshuva Oimdim Boy Ein Tzadikim Gemurim Yochal Lamoid Boy Kloimar. Ma'alasan gedula, imalas elu shloi chetu meulam. Their ma'ala is greater than the one who's never chet. Because they were koyver the yetza more than them. They were koyver the yetza more than them. My ayin le'rasa. What's the schar? Amav Yeshua ben Levi zeh yayin hameshuma v'anova misheshes me'bereshis. This is yayin that is what meshuma that's watched in its grapes misheshes me'bereshis. Shmuel Nachmani Oma is the Eden. First the word Eden, not the Gan. Shloshot ba'ayin kol beria. No one ever saw Eden. Shem atoyma adam rishon hechen hayu. Where was he? Shem atoyma hu gan hu Eden. Same thing. Hamalema the Nor yotza me Eden. Lashkas is a Gan. You see Nor is the Eden someplace. Gan lechud the Eden lechud. Tanamana. Meister shechol b'nei shel Rabbi Gamliel. Shaga shnei talmidei chachamim eitzel Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa levakish levrachmim. Kimus shroy some once Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa saw them. And he understood why they were coming. He started to daven. Allah la liyo bikesh la rachmim v'iridas la yam lehem l'chu go shel chotzasu chama. Your fever is gone away. Amulay v'chinavi ata you a navi yam lehem loy navi anachi ben navi anachi elakach mekublani yam shagur tfilas of the p. Then yadani shem mekubel. Therefore, I know you're going to get better. Yam lav yadani shem taruf. Yashvu v'kasru v'kivnu oisa shah. So they came, they wrote down the time that he davened. Then that you weren't lacking. It was the exact same time that he davened. That's the time that the fever left, and he asked. In other words, they two people came to daven. They asked him to daven. He davened, and they wrote down the time. When they came back, Rabbi Gamliel said it's the exact same time that the fever broke, and he asked for a drink. Should Ma'aser Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa shalach lum l'tayre etzel Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. V'chol b'nei shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Amar l'Chanina b'ni bikesh l'rachmin v'yichya. Ani achroishe ben Birkov v'bikesh l'rachmin v'choya. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Amali hatiach ben Zakkai esroishe ben Birkov. Haya kala yom kula. If I ben Yochanan ben Zakkai would have put my head between my legs to daven, l'hoya mashkicha the whole day, l'hoya mashkicha malav. They went to Mishmaim. They went to listen. But however, Chanina ben Doisa, Mamish answered right away. His wife asked Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, is Chanina what greater than you? Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai said, he's not greater than me. He's like an Eved in front of the king, and therefore an Eved in front of the Melech is answered more than the Sar. There are windows. It says by Daniel, "V'kiven p'sichan lei b'aliyasa Yerushalayim." Rav Kana chotzav alay, I chotzav alay man demasli b'biksa. I judge on people mechutzafim that they daven in a valley. It's a makom that's open and there's no hachna there. Mashen came when you nimsa in a makom that's sogur. You're more what? You're more contained and therefore you're more machniya. It says by Yitzchak. Taisus yes, Yitzchak l'suach b'sadeh. So the Chay was davening in the field. So that was Hara Maria. That was a different place. A person should daven in an open place. Come up b'sadeh. When he's in a quieter place, then what? He's more machniyam sota kadosh baruch hu. It's chutzpah for people to go ahead and they're not embarrassed to say out there. Chatoyim shnemar ashrei nasi pesha kisui chatoy yimchasi chatoy. Taisus writes down that a person who does an aveira misfayish moichlon lo yalkol p'shav. Okay, hajron lecha ein oindim, hajron lecha ein oindim, hajron lecha ein oindim.